All right, so let's talk about this team. Here we are, just a few games in. What are we about 8 games for the Caps so far? 4,
Yep.
2, and 2.
Mhm.
Do you like what you see so far?
I really liked what I saw in Vancouver. There's some games that really bothered me, but I'm giving them a pass on those because they're still not quite in game shape compared to where they would be had they not gone 2 extra months in the playoffs. They've lost 6 to 8 weeks of training, and I haven't seen the physical commitment really in a game until the last one against Vancouver, and I loved what I saw physically, defensively, just the determination, the battling for pucks on the wall, getting to the front of net, blocking shots, the big hits, and they were so dominant in Vancouver, and I'd love to see that again tonight in Edmonton, but I really don't think they're the game shape because of their conditioning levels. They're excellent. They're in excellent shape, but they're not where they probably feel best physically day to day. And I think that'll happen these first 2 weeks of November where they're starting to feel like they're themselves again.
All right, we had somebody call in earlier, and he was complaining about Burakovsky, and I know that Trotz at times was sort of mystified by him. Had some healthy scratches last year. Has he been dropped from like the second line to the fourth line? Is that accurate? And then what's sort of your take on Burakovsky?
Well, Burakovsky is now on the fourth line, and he was on the third line, and they've spotted him around. And, he's one of those guys, he gets in his own head, and I think, the first few games no one looked bad, at home especially. And then he started to struggle a little bit with puck decisions and, not getting a shot off. But last game I thought was his best game of the season. He started out, he had a huge hit, which you don't say about Andre very often. I thought his puck control, puck management was excellent. Had some nice shots, some great scoring chances, but he made smart plays all game. And it's not just about scoring goals that makes you a good player in this league. And the last game, it looked like he realized how important everything else was. So I liked him on the fourth line. They've got guys. Chandler Stevenson's played on every single line in this team so far, and no one's made any bones about it. But, we're trying to find the right fit for everybody, and I think Andre played very well with Nick Dowd and Devontae Smith-Pelly the other day. And he's got to build on that tonight. And Edmonton is a place that he skates well and plays well in. So I'm expecting another strong performance out of him tonight.
Alan, Nicky Backstrom gets to the 600 assist level. Actually has 601 now after his 3-helper game the other night. He's done it in 823 games. I mean, he might be the most underrated superstar in the NHL in like the last decade to 15 years with the numbers that he's accruing here with the Caps.
Well, I absolutely love this guy. His two-way play is what we don't talk about enough. Everyone talks about the soft hands and the dishing of the pucks. And really, no one's done it better since he's gotten in the National Hockey League. He's the NHL assist leader in that time frame. Granted, he's been healthy for the most part. But he is unheralded around the league, and he deserves more credit and acclaim. But, the bottom line for him, I interviewed him the other night. All he cares about is winning, and that Stanley Cup makes him feel whole. He wants to keep putting up numbers, but he's more concerned with wins than assists and goals. But, he is such a proud player, and you're so right. Around the National Hockey League, he does not get enough credit, and he goes in the playoffs, what he and Kuznetsov did, they shut everyone down and outscored them. And he did it with a severely damaged broken index finger on his right hand, and never complained, never whined, and just played his ass off every game. So you've got to love everything about a guy that goes to work and is that professional and is not worried about, any credit being given to him. He just wants to win.
So, Alan, tell me about Edmonton. Just kind of looking at their schedule. They beat the Rangers on the road. They beat Winnipeg at Winnipeg. They also beat Boston in Boston. Now, they've lost a couple in a row. They just allowed 6 goals to the Pens. But I know they've got some young studs. Is it tough to play in that arena? And, what are they all about?
Well, last year the Caps, I think one of their turning points was here at the start of the year when they played against Edmonton, and they played them very, very well. But Edmonton has the single best offensive player in the league, and that's Connor McDavid, who is also the fastest player in the league, and he's got the wow factor every time he touches the puck. And the biggest thing, I think with them, they've realized that they can't just sit and watch him do whatever he wants out there. They've got to take his ice away early, not let him wind up, because Caps have a good defenseman. Great. John Carlson, in my opinion, is right now the best defenseman in the National Hockey League. And even he has to make sure that he doesn't let Connor wind up, because he can embarrass any player in the league, but it takes the forwards. And after Connor McDavid, there's a severe drop in this team. And once that drop off, you can take advantage of this team, but you've got to contain McDavid, and then you've got to take it to their defense. I think their defense is woefully weak. You've got to get pucks in on those guys get it on them deep, force their goaltender to move side to side and abuse them. And they're just as much as we all get in awe of watching McDavid, we also, other teams get, caught, looking at Ovechkin and being mesmerized by a shot. And then while you're doing that, Kuznetsov usually steals the show here in Edmonton. I think he's the player that we all need to be watching tonight.
What have you noticed so far, 8 games in? Any differences in style and style of play with Reardon versus Trotz?
Well, you know what? There's really not a big change right now, and I think, Todd hasn't been wanting to be too hard on the players when they're not playing up to his standard or what. We had a horrible game last Friday night in Washington when, especially the first period, the way the Panthers came in and dominated, had the 4 goals in the first period. But it's going to be pretty much the same style. There's going to be some tweaks here and there. I don't think they'll dump the puck in the zone as much. It'll be more of a possession team. But they're starting to get that physical commitment that we always saw under Trotz. And that, Todd was here. Todd learned a lot under that. We're not going to see a whole lot to the naked eye that is different. But as time goes on, I think the team will almost identically resemble what Trotz was doing, minus, I don't think they'll be as physical as far as getting rid of the puck and chasing after it to make the big hits.